Good afternoon. I'm running a little bit behind. We have an LAPD commission meeting. It will be starting shortly. I need to get logged in. I'm a-getting there. I'm a-getting there. I gotta get everything going here. Okay, we're waiting for them. And let me go back to here and open and link. I'm a-getting there. I see you, buddy. I see you. Grizz, go lay down. Okay, well, we've got at least that. I've been sitting here writing my statement and kind of lost track of time. Hey, Miriam. Hey, Prairie Breeze. Hi, Kathy. Hey, Audit. Hey, Always a Minion. I don't know. I know. Hey, Jojo Bananas. Um, Miriam sent me the list this morning, so because I didn't see it again. So thank you, Miriam, for sending me the link to today's meetings. I was just writing, so I wasn't really paying attention to what time it was. Brr, it's cold out today, cold and windy. I'm glad I don't have anything planted. It'd be freezing they'd be freezing their roots off today. Nice. I wish it was sunny and no wind here today. That would be nice. I'm not trying to be quiet. I'm just trying to finish writing this. Yeah, I'd take some heat today too, Audit. I think I'm going to compare contrast to do an Audit LA secret move about Garcia Aquino last week, and where they found the murder of Oscar Omar Hernandez. I don't have a full 3 minutes. I'm going to do a short and sweet today. Audit, are you down there or are you on Zoom? City Council was on break last week. They seem to be on break a lot. Ooh, we
Recording in progress.
got my hand raised. Joining webinar. Come on, come on. Let's take this off the audio setting. There we go. I'm kind of hoping we don't have Batman and Goat Puppet today. I'm sorry to say that. I said it though. My hand is raised too, Haggis. Ooh, I'm glad Haggis is talking about. Woohoo, nice. Good job, Haggis. Yep, I hope so too. And that way the rest of us might get in. It doesn't look like very many people are there. Bonjour. You did a name change to test in Miriam? I do not have a copy of the link. Hold on, let me find it. Copy link. Here's a copy. Here's the link to the Zoom. Just don't get bummed if you don't get called on.
Good morning, Chief McDonald, Mr. Sibley, Madam Secretary, Inspector General Matthew Barragan, Mr. City Attorney Carlos de la Guerra, and members of the public. Today is Tuesday, April 15, 2025. It is 9:30 a.m. This is a regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Please let the record reflect Commissioners Suthers, Shields, Calanche, and Sanchez Gordon are present, and we have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. The Police Commission is committed to ensuring equal access to its meetings. It is requested that individuals who require the services of a translator contact the board secretary no later than the day preceding the meeting. Whenever possible, a translator will be provided. Sign language interpreters, assisted listening devices, or other auxiliary aids and/or services may be provided upon request. To ensure availability, you are advised to make your request at least 72 hours prior to the meeting you wish to attend. All public comment will be heard during item number 2 on the agenda. We will dedicate a total of 45 minutes to public comment. Members of the public will have 1 minute per agenda item for a maximum of 2 minutes total. At the request of the speaker will be given 1 additional minute for general public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes total. Members of the public, if you choose to participate in the public comment portion of the agenda, you can participate in this meeting in a number of ways outlined on the agenda. Members of the public who participate in public comment are reminded that they can speak to any item on the agenda or a matter within the jurisdiction of the Board of Police Commissioners. Public comment is your opportunity to address the board, so you are free to express your opinion on matters before the board and to generally express when you disagree with other opinions expressed. However, directing your comments to other individuals who have spoken or attacking others who have expressed their opinions shall be deemed off topic, and your public comment period will be concluded. Message for those attending the meeting in person. These meetings are regular meetings between the board, the department, and key stakeholders. Meetings of the Board of Police Commissioners are open to the public. The state's Ralph M. Brown Act affords the public the opportunity to be present at the meetings, hear the presentations and dialogue in real time, and provide feedback via the public comment period. During these meetings, there's a need for the board to carry out public business expeditiously without delays or disruptions. Members of the audience shall not engage in any conduct which causes an actual disruption of the meeting. Those attending in person are reminded that disruptive behavior will be cause for removal. If you disrupt this meeting, you will be provided with only 1 warning to cease disruptive behavior. If you fail to cease such behavior, you will be removed from the meeting. All attendees must be seated. Failure to follow this rule will result in a warning and/or removal from the meeting. With that, we will move to item number 1, the report of the Chief of Police. Chief McDonald.
Good morning, President Suthers, Vice President Shields, Commissioners, Inspector General Barragan, City Attorney De La Guerra, and Mr. Sibley. Today, I'll be discussing significant events from the previous week, providing a crime update, and discussing our personnel strength. We had an officer-involved shooting in Northeast on April 8th. At approximately 15:25, the California Highway Patrol requested a backup, locating 3 misdemeanor hit-and-run suspects who fled into a residential neighborhood near the 134 freeway and Figueroa Street. Multiple Northeast Division uniformed officers responded and established a perimeter. Several minutes later, officers were directed by CHP to the rear of a residence in the 5300 block of Waldo Place, where 1 suspect was last seen running. As the officers were in the rear yard of that residence, they observed a female, later identified as Jillian Schreiner, in the yard of a neighboring residence armed with a handgun. The officers ordered Schreiner to drop the handgun numerous times, however, she refused. Schreiner then pointed the handgun at officers, and an officer-involved shooting occurred. Schreiner was struck by gunfire and fled into her residence. She later exited and was taken into custody without further incident. Los Angeles Fire Department paramedics transported Schreiner to a local hospital where she was treated for a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. No officers or community members were injured during the incident. It was later determined that Schreiner was uninvolved in the hit and run and lived at the residence where she was observed. She was ultimately absentee booked for attempted murder. One of the male suspects connected with the hit and run was detained by CHP, cited, and released. The other 2 suspects were not located. A Glock 9mm handgun, as well as numerous other firearms, were recovered from Shriner's residence. Force Investigation Division investigators responded to the scene and are investigating the incident. Year to date, we've had 10 officer-involved shootings compared to 9 at this time last year, an increase of 11%. We had a multi-person stabbing incident in West Valley on April 14th, just after 4:15 p.m. Officers from West Valley Division responded to reports of a screaming woman near Kittredge Street. While en route, they were redirected to a nearby apartment complex on Darby Avenue for an assault with a deadly weapon. When officers arrived, they were directed to an apartment where 2 bystanders were holding down the suspect. These 2 Good Samaritans, one from a nearby apartment and another from a nearby park, stepped in after hearing screams. Officers quickly took the suspect into custody and began rendering aid to the 3 victims suffering from stab wounds. All 3 were transported to Northridge Hospital and are now in stable condition. The investigation revealed the suspect lived in the unit next door. Without warning, he followed one of the victims into his apartment and attacked him with a knife, then turned the weapon on the other 2 residents who tried to help. One of the witnesses was able to disarm the suspect before police arrived. The injuries to the victims were serious, including deep lacerations to the neck, shoulder, head, and back. During the chaos, the teenage son of 2 of the victims jumped from a second-story balcony to escape. Thankfully, he was treated for minor injuries and released. The suspect was found with a knife, a box cutter, and a pocket knife. He made spontaneous statements admitting to the stabbing and mentioned drug use and paranoia. He has no prior criminal history and no known mental health contacts. He was booked for attempted murder and remains in custody. We're thankful for the courageous actions of the witnesses who stepped in and the officers who responded quickly. The incident could have been an even more tragic outcome. We had the death of a 7-year-old child. Sadly, on April 11th at approximately 6 p.m., a woman called 911 and reported that she had drowned her daughter. Officers responded to the home and found the child unresponsive in the bathtub. Officers performed CPR until paramedics arrived, but the child was pronounced deceased at the scene. The suspect, the child's mother, was taken into custody without incident. She had self-inflicted injuries and was transported to the hospital for treatment. During the investigation, she admitted to intentionally drowning her daughter, citing fears of future harm and instability in their living situation. Detectives from our abused child section responded to the scene along with the medical examiner's office. The preliminary findings from the medical examiner investigator were consistent with strangulation. The suspect was later booked for murder and remains in custody. This was a deeply tragic incident involving a young life lost far too soon. Our hearts are with the extended family and those impacted by this case. Support services have been offered to all involved. We had an officer injured during an explosion. Central Division uniformed officers responded to a radio call regarding a trespass suspect at 401 East 6th Street. Upon arrival, the suspect fled into a nearby apartment unit. Once inside, the suspect had placed multiple butane canisters in the oven. As officers made entry, the canisters exploded, resulting in injuries to one officer. Following the explosion, the suspect claimed to have additional explosives in the apartment and barricaded himself inside. SWAT, K-9, Bomb Squad, and Crisis Negotiation Team personnel responded to the scene. After an extended standoff, the suspect surrendered and was taken into custody without further incident. He was booked for 245C PC, assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer. The injured officer was treated at a local hospital and has since been released. We're grateful to report that the officer is expected to make a full recovery. We had a significant jewelry store burglary. On April 14th, uniformed officers again from Central area responded to a commercial burglary at Love Jewels, located at 516 South Broadway. The investigation revealed that the suspect gained access to the business the previous evening on April 13th at about 9:45 p.m. by tunneling through concrete walls from an adjacent business at 510 South Broadway, also a jewelry store. Once inside, the suspects used a blowtorch to breach the safe, stealing a large quantity of jewelry along with a registered handgun. It's estimated the loss is in the millions, although the owners are still working to complete a full inventory. Alarm systems at 510 South Broadway did not activate during the break-in, and it's suspected the alarm may have been disabled by the suspect. After entering the target location, the suspects also disabled the closed-circuit TV system. After completing the burglary, the suspects fled the scene the same way they entered and even placed their own lock on the gate of the neighboring business to delay discovery. Central Area detectives are actively canvassing the area for additional video footage and leads and coordinating their investigative efforts with Commercial Crimes Division. On the crime picture for the week ending April 12th, our citywide crime data based on offense count shows a continued downward trend overall. In the most recent 4-week period from March 16th to April 12th, combined persons and property crimes are down 16.8% compared to the prior 4 weeks. Specifically, persons crimes declined by 5% and property crimes saw a 19.8% drop. Homicides year-to-date have decreased by 33%, with 29 fewer victims than the same period last year. Victims shot citywide are down 14.8%, or 47 fewer victims year-to-date, and aggravated assaults declined by 6%, or 71 fewer crimes in the same 4-week period. Robberies remained essentially flat, up just 0.2%. Over the last 4 weeks, we've experienced an increase in firearms-involved robberies, which is 12 more or 10.3% increase. However, strong-arm robberies are slightly down with 3 less than the previous period. The majority of robberies continue to occur on sidewalks, streets, or parkways. Burglaries have dropped significantly, down 21.7% overall, which equates to 234 less crimes. Each bureau reported a decrease, and both residential and non-residential burglaries are down citywide. Motor vehicle theft is also down 10.4%, or 174 fewer vehicle thefts over the last 4 weeks. The most frequently stolen remain Chevrolet, Honda, Toyota, Kia, and Ford, with the Silverado, Tacoma, Accord, Civic, and Elantra as the top targeted models. Overall, these trends reflect both progress and areas to be monitored. We remain focused on strategic deployment to sustain and expand on the progress we're seeing citywide. And finally, on our personnel strengths, number of sworn personnel as of April 14th is 8,735. Civilian professional staffing is at 2,650, and reserve officers remain at 361. Mr. President, that concludes my report to the Commission this morning.
Thank you, Chief. And I'd like to also extend my condolences to the extended family of the 7-year-old who was drowned, and appreciate services that were offered to the extended family. Chief, I do have one question, though. I understand we still have personnel deployed for the fires with regards to access control to those areas. How many people do we have out there, and how often are they there?
I can give you exact numbers by looking at the report from this morning, but roughly 40 officers per watch, including the command post, and then those deployed with the National Guard at checkpoints, and then roving crime suppression patrols throughout the Palisades. In addition, the CHP also have units deployed, and as I mentioned, the National Guard has a significant number of soldiers deployed there as well. It remains a closed area overall.
Thank you, and thank you to those people who are out there still securing that area. I don't have any additional questions. I'll defer to Vice President Shields.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for the report. Had a couple of questions. First, with regards to the Northeast officer-involved shooting, given that CHP was also on the scene, are they cooperating in FID's investigation?
Yeah, CHP are good partners. We have not had an issue with them at all as far as that goes.
Wonderful. And when FID conducts its investigation, they typically gather both the body-worn video and also, canvass the area for any additional videos. I imagine they'll be doing the same thing for this incident.
They do that, yeah. All evidence in the area they get copies of.
Okay. And when do you anticipate the critical incident video being released for this matter?
It's still probably 10 days. Sorry. No, let me get the clarification on that. 45 days, sorry.
I believe the policy requires 45 days from
Right.
within the date of the shooting. And so ideally, I would say the faster that can be released even before the 45 days, I think it's appreciated. But understand that you'll at least, excuse me, sir, if there's any comments, you can. Sir, asking questions right now. You'll have an opportunity to provide public comment, but this is your first warning. Thank you. Okay, so those are, I think, were the questions I had about the officer-involved shooting, and we'll anticipate that critical incident video being released. And really tragic incidents with the drowning of the child. As a parent, I just can't even imagine that. And it also shows kind of what officers are asked to look at on a daily basis. Is there any support being provided to the officers who are actually having to try to do CPR on this poor victim?
Yeah, no, thank you for that, the concern on that. Certainly, anybody who's exposed to this kind of an incident who tries to provide help, it leaves you with something you never forget. Support has been offered and I believe given to a number of officers who were at the scene there.
Thank you. And I hope that they take that up because I can't imagine having to deal with that. And I also wanted to just indicate last week I had the opportunity to give remarks at the Community Police Academy in the Valley. And I just wanted to give credit to all of the Valley Bureau leadership and individuals involved with that. I think it's a great opportunity to allow community members to see what the police do. And I know that there were a number of people who are going through like the criminal justice education and looking for a career in law enforcement. So I think that's also another great recruiting mechanism. So great job for everyone in Valley Bureau.
If I could, Commissioner, just also mention, this morning we released a video that was sponsored by the Los Angeles Police Foundation and put together by the very good creative agency VGCA. And it's exceptionally well done. It looks like a movie trailer, but it's basically a recruitment video. And it goes through and shows the different aspects of the department, how many jobs are available out there, but also the positive experiences as well as the tougher experiences that officers face in the field. Very exceptionally well done. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Calanche.
No questions at this moment.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Chief, I wanted to focus on the mass demonstration on Saturday here in downtown LA. Okay. I wanted to know if there were any incidents that required the attention of the LAPD.
No, we had a presence out there, certainly. I'm not aware of any incidents of any significance, certainly, that occurred that day. Peaceful overall.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I did see the video this morning. And it was an excellent video.
Thank you.
Well, very well put together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now go on to agenda item number 2, public comment. Madam Secretary, please announce the first speaker.
The first speaker is Jonathan Foster.
Hello, Jonathan Foster is going to play this one.
Difficult to recruit. It's your first and last warning. It is difficult to recruit when people who apply to this department. I'll try one more time. You're being removed from the meeting. Stand up and leave the room. Black mask, black jacket. I order you out of the room. I didn't stutter. Black mask, black jacket. Stand up, leave the room. Now. Then you both can leave. I'll run the meeting, sir. Sit down and shut up.
So I was the one laughing and I didn't get thrown out. And we were laughing about the recruiting issue, which is the way you were talking about it, it's actually quite funny. It's not funny that you can't recruit personally. I don't think it's funny, but the way you handle it is ridiculous. Definitely went to the bedrock with Barney Rubble on this one. Nobody said anything about it. And telling him to shut up is a true Brown Act offense. That's a Brown Act offense, buddy. It's real. Linda Becerra-Baran, the problem is a language. Everything was going well until they started speaking about handcuffs. When they spoke about handcuffs, she got agitated because she knew what was getting ready to happen. They were going to put her in handcuffs. And I noticed that the female officer never spoke to her. All 5 officers are speaking in 2 different languages, which somebody in a mental issue that's going to be very confusing. So only one person should have been speaking to her in Spanish. And it should have been the female. She got agitated, multiple officers confused, and there's back and forth between language and where was the net gun, right? As they backed up, they had less lethal, but she's 10 feet away, could have hit her with a net gun. She'd have a hard time to get hit her twice. Maybe she might have killed herself. I don't know. I've noticed the same thing happened with Yang Yang. They were too close. They did a standoff for 5, 6, 7 hours with some dude. How come they didn't do a standoff with Yang Yang? They could have done a standoff. Why didn't you do a standoff? How come I'm the smartest person in the building? Barney Rubble. So this goes on.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, William Good.
Streets is there.
Sir, your public comment has ended. Step away from the podium. Thank you.
Good morning. So you mentioned that you hired a creative agency to help the LAPD brand, to revitalize the LAPD brand. You need a creative agency? You need a fancy video? Do you ever think about behaviors? Do you ever think about adjusting behaviors? Do you ever think that might have something that might help? Do you ever think holding officers accountable might help revitalize your brand, Chief? So about revitalizing brands, I'm gonna give you guys some news. So there's 2 Newton officers, he knows, 2 Newton officers who are working overtime doing MTA duty who got caught having sex by a community member. And they have video of it. You're gonna see video of it sooner or later. How about that for revitalizing brands? But you know what though? It's kind of acceptable because there's an officer named Robert Villalobos. Years ago, he got caught having sex he would stop by a strip club. And then him and his partner would take dancers to a construction site and have sex with them. You know what happened to him? He's still on the force in North Hollywood. How about that for a brand? Now, we know that LAPD runs this guy right here. See the chief? The LAPPL runs you. Not you guys. You guys think you hold him accountable? You don't. He answers to the union. The union is up in his office every day, from what I hear from commanders and others overturning complaints that were sustained. They walk into his office and they get it overturned. The LAPPL. You ever see the people who run the LAPPL? How about Ralph Campos, the director there? I recently sustained a complaint against him because he has a private security company that does private investigative work, which he's not allowed to do. It's against LAPD policy. But he said, fuck it, I'll do it anyway because I'm the LAPPL director and I'm also the treasurer of the LAPPL and I self-deal contracts, even though he told the members that he doesn't. He self-deals contracts to his own security company. And I was talking to a lawyer recently that is suing the security company because one of his security guards that was unlicensed raped a woman. And they fired him. Good thing that he fired him. But then he brought him back. Why? For PPP money, to justify his PPP money. These are the people that Jim McDonald answers to. So why don't you guys, for once, take some control? You guys have you guys misconceive what your job is. Your job is you're not here to protect the LAPD. You're here to hold them accountable. You are the Civilian Oversight Committee. You are not here to do their bidding. Hold them accountable for once.
Andrew Gravener.
Hey, Hippie Chick. Sorry I wasn't missing you in VGI.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny, Jim. All your officers doing all kinds of fucked up shit, and you're just sitting there laughing and smirking during everyone's comments. So the chief's report should be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes at every meeting. If the chief's report exceeds 3 minutes, we shall match the amount of time the chief takes. Regardless of how long the chief takes to give his report, everyone should be able to speak both in person and on the phone. So you wonder about that. So you're putting on a recruiting video that sounds like a movie trailer. So you have maybe the fact that you're not getting recruitment is a sign that maybe no one likes you. Everyone realizes what you are. So they're not going to be the cops here. All right. So we have the consent agenda. So on the consent agenda today, we have a contract for remote video telephone visitation services. You should make sure that people actually know about these services when they're in your custody so that they know how they work so that they actually can make use of the services. And of course, make sure they're able to get in contact with their lawyers and things like that. So we have, let's see, a $750 donation for the training division for the desert run. So I wonder if any of the officers involved in this were part of the scandal where they were making all kinds of racist, sexist, homophobic comments about their own recruits. And you wonder how they talk about the public. So that's how they talk about their recruits. Speaking of recruiting, and we got money for them to just go run in the desert because, the cops can't do anything normally. You got your trust building exercises. Why don't you just, if you need team building, just have them fall into their, officers' hands like a normal place and just, call that trust exercises or something if you really need team building. But no, let's just go run in the desert. We got 9686 for morale and well-being. I can't even get through this. There's just so much going on. You're just, just all kinds of corruption, all kinds of just donations for weird stuff. You got another party out there this morning. It seems like every day I'm here, there's like a party out there. What's the party today? And of course, McDonald continues to, even though he claims he's not, help Trump immigration officials as they're, kidnapping students off the street. I wonder what you have to say about that, Errol.
Thank you.
Jason Reedy.
Jim, how fitting that pig Gary Brennan met his end in a car crash near the bottom of Cuesta Grade. Can't help but wonder what he and Filberto are up to down in hell. Now, hopefully Gary choked on a toothpick during his final moments. Any day a retired pig dies is a good day for LA. This pig was pulling a $199K a year pension. That put him in the top 200 pensioners for the entire city. Another reminder of how the LAPD continues to bleed the public dry long after they hang up their badge. Now, Gary Brennan, once upon a time, was the head of the academy. And I want to quote him here. When confronted with the department's deep-rooted racism, he told the public it's unrealistic to think that they can remove all of their bias. That says it all. Now, this is the same pig who, after the brutal beating of Rodney King was released, the video of it, had the audacity to claim that the portrayals of the LAPD in public were unfair. Jim, you called Gary your mentor and friend. You said he was a man's man and a cop's cop. You're right, he was a man's man because he was sexist and homophobic. And he was a pig's pig because he was racist to his core. Good riddance. It's a shame that it didn't happen sooner. Now, as members of our community continue to be kidnapped, I have to ask Lou, when you go into neighborhoods with the LAPD to quote unquote educate community members about immigration. Do you tell people about Fabian's homeboy Bukele? You know, the same self-described coolest dictator in the world, the same guy that Trump was extolling just yesterday at the White House. Fabian brags about how he worked directly with Bukele to introduce, train, and support a comprehensive national public safety and violence reduction strategy. Now, what does that strategy look like? It looks like concentration camps, human trafficking, repression disguised as reform. To put it simply, fascism. Is Fabian upfront about his complicity in providing cover for the internment of over 80,000 innocent people in El Salvador? Now, McDonald went on John Phillips' show to talk about the looming budget deficit, conveniently leaving out that the city is in this situation as a result of the massive raises gifted to the rank and file and the ballooning liability payments due to the actions of your department. Now, he's warning that the LAPD is quote unquote going to feel it this budget season, as if the department hasn't seen a year-over-year budget increases for as long as anyone can remember in this city. It's unrivaled, as your new recruitment campaign states. Now, Arrow, the city of Santa Monica announced they won't be hosting an Olympics volleyball event due to financial constraints. Any idea why the city of Santa Monica is broke? Maybe it has to do with the over $230 million paid out in settlements tied to the very POW program you founded. You know, the one where 200 children were molested by your buddy Eric Uhler. Now, how long were you on the board of the Santa Monica POW again? Was that from 1992 to 1996? Does that sound about right? And how long did you serve as the second vice
Santa
president?
Monica board is not a matter before this commission.
Absolutely, it
Get on
is. It's an event that the LAPD
Topic.
would have.
You are off topic.
That is not off topic.
You are off topic.
That is this national security event. It's designated by your own department. It's part of the Olympics.
Off topic.
That is not off topic. That is not off topic. Now, again, will you ever?
Thank you. Thank you. Your public comment has ended. Step away from the podium. You got your first and last warning. You have your first and last warning. I'm removing you from the room. You are ordered out of the room. Leave the room.
Tick tock, tick tock.
You are ordered out of the room. With the blue hat, you have your first and last warning. Madam Secretary, please call the next speaker.
Next, we have Audit LA.
Woohoo, good, audit's on.
Good morning. It's been a tough couple weeks. Last week, hearing, the parents of Mr. Ying Yang was heartbreaking. I was in tears, and his mother came and put her hand on my shoulder to provide comfort for me. I just want to give her son back. It shouldn't have happened. I agree. Why didn't they just retreat and then call SWAT to come in and try to handle it in a way that would have been able to resolve with her still having her son? It was the day after his birthday. And also a young Mr. Hernandez, being murdered, and there was warnings. This person was allowed, the coach was allowed to continue coaching after being told, after reports of, and several reports of his wrongdoing with sexual crimes, and a child is dead. And I am concerned because we have come before you so many times with what's going on in Scientology. You've had actual victims, actual survivors who have come to you and said that just the very practices of auditing and purification and all these things led to a lot of sexual assaults, trauma, and inappropriate behaviors for years. And you've been hearing for years. There's been so many survivors having their own channels telling you that this is going on. So is it going to take another Mr. Hernandez, young 13-year-old, to come up to be killed because you won't take it seriously? Or maybe you think about it, but you won't actually be proactive because they give you a lot of money. They give you a lot of awards. They help you, do community cleanups. But they have sounded the alarm so often. And it just reminds me of like Mr. Hernandez, or even this poor 7-year-old child. Was there no warnings? And like all the money that goes towards the policing and as far as the guns and that level of policing, but not the MEU units. Why isn't there more money going into the MEU units? I can't believe a woman drowned her child and nobody knew that she was in crisis. And so the stuff, it's so heart-wrenching. But we've been coming here sounding the alarm, saying that there has been so many survivors, so many that have been begging you. They came before you and said, we need you to hear us. We went through this. We don't want to see this to continue. But it's on deaf ears. When are you going to listen? When are you going to hear? How many more people have to die because you don't, and you don't want to be, and not proactive. We don't want any police state out there, just arresting everybody. But man, if people are telling you that there's crimes going on.
The next speaker is Katrina Thomas.
Good job, Audit. Good job.
Katrina Thomas here on behalf of my brother Anthony Sowell again. I was here last week and I spoke with you guys, and they pulled us to the room pretty much not giving us any more information than we already knew. Two of the things that they did say is that they have 45 days to release the video and they have 2 years for the investigation. I'm here today to say that we want the investigation to come to a close. And as well as one of the things that was never mentioned in the news and any articles and anything is that prior to my brother's decease, he himself called 911 and said that someone was after him and trying to kill him. So I don't understand how he was a victim turned perpetrator and now dead. I don't understand why. I don't understand why it's not an open and shut case. His whole murder was completely caught on video.
Oh, Mama.
I have small children. I don't live here in California. I take time off of work. I spend my money to come here to plead to you guys to make sure that my brother's case is investigated properly. That not only my brother received justice, that we receive justice because we're suffering. We're suffering. Last week when I left here, no one watched the video, but my mother told me she keeps praying because she can't get the image out of her head. I had to fly my daughter in from out of state because she was having a mental breakdown. 12 weeks from today will be 84 days. We need the video, the phone call from my brother calling 911 saying someone's after him to be released. The only reason the video was even released wasn't after 45 days, which they called us in the room and told us. It was 8 months later. The only reason the video was released is because our attorney, we requested it from him, and then the next day they called us. Mind you, they haven't called for 8 months. So because we requested the video, it was released. I doubt if it would have ever been released. 12 weeks from today will be 84 days. It will be 3 days after my brother's birthday, 2 days after my brother's death, and 1 day before we came to the knowledge of his death. 3, 2, 1. The clock is ticking. It started 84 days. We want the investigation to be done. That is a year. That's what they told us. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker, Michael Williams.
Hey, Gina. Hi, Amanda.
I don't come before this commission often because I feel like I waste my breath here and time and energy here because y'all don't do anything about the things that you're hearing, except for like once in a blue. Does anybody know if it's a blue moon today? Maybe. So maybe you might listen to something that I say. I'm here today because this commission is supposed to be a representation of the civilians and the public. It's supposed to be a mechanism to hold the police accountable and to be a voice for the citizenry when the police do wrong. It hasn't been that ever from the moment I've come here, and that was 10 years ago. My first commission meeting was 10 years ago. And I can count on my hands the amount of times that this commission has done something that the public wanted. People take their time out of their day. People come here to speak their feelings and talk. We've had family members after family members after family members after family members come to this commission and speak in front of y'all, and y'all have looked at them and told them essentially, fuck you. We don't care what you think. We have donors to think about. We have the LAPPL to think about. I've seen chief after chief. I've been here for 2 different chiefs. This is the 3rd chief I'm on. Can't count how many commission presidents this is. And time after time after time, y'all don't listen, you don't change, and we're back here with the same issues and the same problems. When Trump was inaugurated the first time, we asked this commission to hold the police accountable for not participating and helping ICE capture and kidnap our neighbors, our community. And now here we are again, and that police chief lied and was still giving information to ICE. Now we find out that this police chief lied, said in front of a committee that was supposed to hire him that he would not cooperate, he would not allow the LAPD to cooperate with ICE, and they did. And they do. So what are y'all going to do about that? You have power. You have a power to fire this man. You have that ability. Are you going to do it? Because he lied. It's been documented.
The next speaker, Megan.
I just want to say it was really nauseating to be in the room with you all last week as you performed empathy for the families of those victims of LAPD. Commissioners, we speak today with urgency in regard to LAPD's assertions and presentations in 2025 about how LAPD works with federal immigration agents. In December, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass signed Ordinance 188441, which was unanimously passed by the LA City Council and prohibits using any city resources for immigration enforcement. While both Mayor Bass and City Council celebrated the ordinance as a major achievement in making Los Angeles a sanctuary, LAPD is asserting it will have no effect on department policies. The purpose of this letter is to outline all of the ways that LAPD will be facilitating the Trump administration's targeting and deportation of people in our communities, including by sharing personnel, resources, and information with federal authorities, as has been admitted in this room. These tactics and policies will mean that City of Los Angeles personnel are doing the legwork for the Trump administration's agenda of terrorizing and destroying our immigrant communities. If LAPD's current policies remain unchanged, then the city's role in that cruel agenda will increase, while at the same time, city officials mislead our communities by falsely assuring them that Los Angeles is a sanctuary, where city resources are not contributing to civil immigration enforcement by the Trump administration. This lie is more dangerous than saying nothing at all, since it misleads the public and gives false assurance and comfort to communities facing deliberate terror and chaos at the hands of federal authorities. Much of LAPD's current role in immigration enforcement appears to be designed by Arif Ali Khan, a former Department of Homeland Security official who helped shape Ordinance 188441. After the ordinance was enacted, LAPD declared in an Enforcement of United States Immigration Laws FAQ that Ali Khan appears to have authored After the ordinance was enacted, LAPD declared in an enforcement of United States Immigration's laws FAQ that Ali Khan appears to have authored that the new law does nothing to change LAPD's policies. Ali Khan elaborated to the BOPC last month that the ordinance largely reflects the policies that have existed within the LAPD for many years, because the department does not engage in nor support or provide assistance to any civil immigration enforcement. In contrast to these assurances, we must be clear about the details of LAPD's collaboration with immigration authorities. While LAPD frequently references a 1979 special order that restricts police from initiating action with the exclusive goal of learning a person's immigration status.
Thank you. Thank you. Your public comment has ended. Step away from the podium. You are now disrupting the meeting. Thank you.
The next speaker, please, Jamie. Jamie?
It does get really disappointing sitting on here waiting.
This collaboration has a long and well-documented history. In 2000, LAPD was exposed as coordinating with Immigration and Naturalization Service, INS, so closely that one officer described it as routine for an INS agent in the crash office to do a laptop search on a detainee's immigration status. Crash refers to LAPD gang intelligence units that were disbanded and replaced by the Gang and Narcotics Division. Likewise, as of 2014, LAPD was granting approximately 40% of detainer requests it received from ICE, resulting in hundreds of deportations annually. And while LAPD today claims it does not honor ICE detainer requests, ICE still sends these requests and is notified at any time a person is booked by LAPD into the LA County criminal booking system. We must be clear about the current realities of LAPD's role in the Trump administration's agenda, or else the city is providing our communities false assurances while putting them in harm's way. Below are several of the ways that LAPD is currently facilitating and is set to continue facilitating federal immigration arrests and raids. 1. LAPD acts as an information gatherer and tracker for immigration agencies. Funded by federal grants, private donations, and city funding, LAPD has amassed an arsenal of both digital and analog surveillance, data storing, and data sharing technologies that target our communities en masse, regardless of a person's proximity to crime or intent. Field interview cards, or FI cards, are a primary data gathering tool of the LAPD for a wealth of intimate information on a person, including name, address, email address, physical characteristics, gang affiliations, date, time, location, who a person was with, what they were wearing, the presence of tattoos and other identifying marks, a person's social media handles, and anything else an officer thinks is relevant. Collected over time, FI cards have long been used by LAPD to track a person's movements and social relationships. Today, LAPD officers are able to fill out FI cards directly on their tablets or phones for immediate input into its record management system, RMS, which interfaces with local, state, and federal agencies through a range of databases and communication platforms, including CopLink, LANX, Justice Data Interface Controller, JDIC, Guardian, the California Law Enforcement Telecommunication System, CLETS, and the FBI's National Crime Information Center, NCIC. Of these informations, ICE is able to access NCIC directly and accesses information in CopLink indirectly through other data servers. In addition to providing information to federal agencies via these means, LAPD has been exposed as falsifying information on FI cards and filling out FI cards more frequently during detainments when the person is perceived to be Black, multiracial, or Hispanic or Latinx.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mona M.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes. What items would you like to speak on?
All items, but I'll be brief today.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Chief McDonald, OIG, the new OIG, welcome. Commissioners, last week we heard comments that were extremely heartbreaking and very dark and disturbing. The news of the murder of Oscar Omar Hernandez. We prayed each day when the missing posters were put out. I'm glad he was found, just not with the outcome that we had prayed for. Why did Garcia Aquino still have access to those children? He was reported to be an undocumented immigrant. He was a traveling coach for the soccer team, for the traveling team. And you have to have access to kids in ways other adults just don't get when you're a traveling coach. That's just amazing. And it was reported a year earlier, he was under investigation. Why in the world was he still there? Is the soccer club being investigated for continuing to hire him? I hope so. He was here on a visa, or he was on an expired visa. Let's correlate that to what I normally talk about, Scientology. They are known for keeping people hostage on expired visas. I just recently have been made aware of a gentleman in exactly that situation. He was held against his will for quite a while at the Blue Building. He is now back in his home country and has made reports to his local authorities. You probably will be hearing about it soon. I am putting LAPD and the Commission on report that this is a problem with Scientology and it needs to be investigated. Thank you for your time. I yield back my time.
Okay, the next speaker is pancakes. They're pancake. Adam Smith. Adam Smith here.
Getting a little feisty on the sidewalk this morning there, Chip. Body-worn video and digital in-car video systems, DICVS, gathers people's faces, appearances, locations, license plates, and other information and uploads the data to evidence.com, which is also part of LAPD's record management system, or RMS, and accessible by other agencies that use the same platforms. Body-worn video is also used during field interviews to, quote, capture additional details, including a person's clothing, tattoos, or physical description that may not fit in the limited space provided on an FI card, unquote. Automated license plate readers, ALPR, are used to track people's movements and predict where a person lives, works, or may be going. These scans are kept for years, regardless of a person's proximity to crime. As described in our March 2nd, 2025 letter to the board, LAPD captures and has access to license plate reader information through at least 3 different ALPR systems, and the data is shared with federal agencies through data sharing systems, including the RMS and Peregrine Technologies. Celebrite systems and software are used to extract information from a person's phone, including all contacts, photos, passwords, social media accounts, files, and communications. Celebrite has been used in Los Angeles since at least 2012, including by multi-agency task force, where LAPD personnel collaborate with Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, and ICE personnel. Data obtained from a cell phone using Celebrite has historically been shared with federal agencies by LAPD through such data sharing platforms as Palantir, which today has been replaced by Peregrine Technologies. Suspicious activity reports, SARs, is a report that someone generates about, quote, activity they deem to be, quote, suspicious. Once filed through various reporting systems, including the iWatch See Something, Say Something program and LAPD police reports, SARs are stored and shared with thousands of law enforcement and public agencies, as well as private contractors, through regional surveillance hubs known as fusion centers, where the data is maintained for 30 years. Social media surveillance. LAPD has a long history of online and social media surveillance, including creating fake personas to more closely monitor a person's online communications and the use of surveillance software, including Voyager Labs, Data Miner, Cobwebs, and Geophedia. The software is used to surveil not only individuals, organizations, and events, but to gather potential, quote, intelligence and data that might be used to build a case against a person in the future. Data and images from the above sources are stored in LAPD databases that are accessible to local law enforcement and federal agencies either directly or through the local fusion center, JRIC, the Joint Regional Intelligence Center, described in more detail below.
Hamid Khan. Hamid Khan, please.
What this says is that the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition sent you a detailed letter about the whole information sharing environment. It's not just about, just picking up the phone and calling ICE. It's about the vast universe of information sharing environment and data sharing that constantly is a threat for everybody, undocumented, documented citizen, whoever you are. So continuing with that letter, social media surveillance. LAPD has a long history of online and social media surveillance, including creating fake personas to more closely monitor a person's online communication and the use of surveillance software, including Voyager Labs, Data Miner, Cobwebs, and Geophidia. The software is used to surveil not only individuals, organizations, and events, but to gather potential intelligence and data that might be used to build a case against a person in the future. Data and images from the above sources are stored in LAPD databases that are accessible to local law enforcement and federal agencies, either directly or through the local fusion center, JRIC, the Joint Regional Intelligence Center, described in details. LAPD also provides records to federal databases and/or platforms that are accessible to ICE, including CopLink and the FBI's National Crime Information Center, or the NCIC. Software platforms that facilitate data sharing between LAPD and federal agencies, including Motorola's Premier One Records Management System, Evidence.com, Motorola's Vigilant Solutions, and Peregrine Technologies. Number 2, LAPD shares real-time data with federal agencies through fusion centers. As detailed in our March 2nd letter, fusion centers are surveillance and data sharing hubs that tie different agencies into a national information sharing environment. LAPD is a major contributor of personnel to staffing of the Los Angeles area fusion center known as the Joint Regional Intelligence Center. LAPD has an agreement to share intelligence with JRIC and JDIG, merged to create a consolidated regional all-crime intelligence entity. JRIC's whole purpose is enabling local police agencies like LAPD to provide federal authorities, including ICE, direct access to the City of Los Angeles' data, personnel, and technologies. This routine collaboration is described in a 2012 report, Zones of Opacity, Data Fusion in Post-9/11, Information Surveillance Streams, Data and Resources with other JRIC members, which includes FBI, DHS, and ICE. As stated in a memorandum of understanding backed by LAPD, signed by LAPD Chief Charlie Beck in 2015, the JRIC combines the intelligence and information sharing of all participating agencies. In addition to being a DHS fusion center, JRIC was established in the same building as the Los Angeles Joint Drug Intelligence Group, JDIG, a task force responsible for further local and federal police collaboration in policing.
Matios, please.
Continuing where Hamid left off, in fact, the FBI's Assistant Director of Public Affairs explained in 2009 that Norwalk was chosen as a location for JRIC due to the proximity to JDIG in order to enable seamless information sharing between the two organizations. And in 2010, the security organizations, which drew from 55 interviews at 36 fusion centers, according to a ranking officer at a fusion center, the true benefit is to have those agents from the different agencies sitting next to each other with all of their data sets, all their legacy and their parent agency data piped right to their desk. You'd have a DEA intel analyst sitting next to an ICE intel analyst, sitting next to a DHS border analyst, and they all have their agency data right at their fingertips. That's the true value of fusion. Because each analyst possesses the requisite security clearance for his exchange, there's no need to call the FBI, for instance, when an FBI analyst is sitting right next to you and can pull up any information you require. Software platforms like Palantir, a powerful data integration, sharing, and analysis platform that was used by JRIC from 2009 until at least 2023, have facilitated this data sharing. LAPD also used Palantir to facilitate data sharing with JRIC and over 60 additional law enforcement agencies, the full list of which is known from the original 2012 Palantir contract with LASD. Palantir also managed data sharing between JRIC and additional fusion centers, including the Northern California Regional Intelligence Center, NCRIC. Peregrine Technologies is the newest addition to the LAPD's digital technology arsenal and has been bought to replace the controversial Palantir software. LAPD has used Palantir to build its quote-unquote predictive policing system, Operation Laser, which harvested surveillance data to create profiles that LAPD used to target quote future chronic offenders. In 2023, LAPD began conversations with a team at Peregrine Technologies on replacing Palantir, and in July 2024, signed a contract with Peregrine to begin integrating its data, including from license plate scans, FI cards, citations, traffic stops, crime reports, data from body-worn video and digital in-car video, interviews with witnesses, and many additional types of information. Other local police agencies, including in Arcadia, Alhambra, Anaheim, and Glendale, have signed similar agreements with Peregrine too. Likewise, as of September 2023, LASD has been looking for a quote-unquote solution to replace Palantir at JRIC, quote, to be used by over 60 law enforcement public safety agencies throughout the JRIC area of responsibility. Based on the existing data sharing network and the recent contracts entered by numerous local agencies, it appears likely that Peregrine will become this replacement, enabling local and federal agencies to seamlessly capture, exchange, and funnel data to JRIC, where it will be actionable and accessible to a range of federal agencies, including DHS and ICE. The data shared here includes reports of
Kuyan.
The data, sorry, this is continuing off of the same letter that we all sent you last night and that you should have on your desks right now. So ideally, you might be taking a look. The data shared here includes reports of quote unquote suspicious activity filed by civilians or by police, license plate scans, FI card information, crime reports, financial records, DMV information, social media handles and networks, cell phone numbers and networks, social security numbers, fingerprints, mugshots, jail records and interviews, court documents, and many more, supplemented by such data brokers such as LexisNexis and its Risk Solutions Accurate Virtual Crime Center. This is accessible to agencies regardless of a person committing any crime or being suspected of a crime. This is the nature and intention of the information sharing environment. An example of this, when LAPD's ALPR system was audited in 2020 by the state's Inspector General, LAPD was found to be sharing ALPR images with 58 law enforcement agencies and with JRIC through Palantir's Gotham software platform, even though, as the audit noted, LAP, quote, does not have agreements to share its ALPR images with any federal agencies, including ICE, unquote. The audit further noted, quote, most of the images collected were unrelated to criminal cases. 99.9% of the 320 million images the LAPD stored came from vehicles that were not listed at all involved in criminal investigations when the image was made by an ALPR camera. 99.9%. Another significant example is field interview FI cards. A person does not have to have committed any crime for LAPD to commit an FI card documenting their identity, location, who they know, their appearance, their social media accounts, photographs of intimate tattoos, and even their place of birth. If, quote, deemed relevant to an investigation, LAPD has described FI cards as a way to, quote, get them, meaning people stopped by the police in the system. Once data is shared with JRIC, it remains there. JRIC's privacy policy is extremely broad, stating the Fusion Center, quote, may only place information in criminal intelligence files and or retain information, unquote. 1, where there is reasonable suspicion that a specific individual or organization has committed or is supporting or facilitating a criminal offense or is involved in or planning criminal, including terrorist conduct or activity that presents a threat to any individual, the community, California, or the nation, and the information is relevant to the criminal, including terrorist conduct or activity. Reasonable suspicion. Or 2, where there is a reasonable likelihood that within 1 year, there will develop a reasonable suspicion that a specific individual or organization has committed a criminal offense.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Grace.
I also want to know, Errol, last week you praised a public commenter for having a depth of knowledge around ALPR technology. So I really hope, Errol, you specifically are listening closely to the information we are laying out very clearly to you. They'll develop a reasonable suspicion that a specific individual or organization has committed a criminal offense or is involved in or is planning criminal, including terrorist conduct or activity that presents a threat to any individual, the community, California, or the nation, and the information is relevant to the criminal, including terrorist conduct or activity, end quote. The standard for filing a suspicious activity report, SAR, that gets stored by JRIC is even vaguer. Quote, official documentation of observed behavior reasonably indicative of pre-operational planning related to terrorism or other criminal activity, end quote. Once filed, these reports are maintained in the FBI's case support system for 30 years, even after there is determined to be no nexus to terrorism. These are the data sharing systems, policies, and agreements that LAPD uses to supply surveillance information about communities in LA with federal agencies. This infrastructure makes it impossible to separate LAPD from immigration enforcement. So long as this infrastructure remains in place, city officials are lying to the public and providing false assurance when they claim LA is not contributing resources and personnel are not contributing to civil immigration enforcement. 3. LAPD arbitrarily labels immigrants as, quote, gang affiliated, which then becomes a basis for federal authorities to detain, banish, and torture them. One of LAPD's long-standing and long-criticized means of criminalizing both people and places in the city is through arbitrary or false labels of gang affiliation. The ramifications of this label have always been deadly, and the data itself and the process by which a person may be labeled as a gang member is deeply flawed, as exposed in repeated audits by both community groups and state officials. In 2020, LAPD was further exposed as fabricating gang affiliations on FI cards. While these scandals have resulted in LAPD being banned from adding information to the statewide Cal gang database, officers continue to gather the same information through FI cards, and this information is made available to federal authorities through the information sharing environment and fusion centers. Photos indicating that a person has tattoos are captured and shared through the FI card database for anyone stopped and interviewed by police, as well as the LA County criminal booking system for anyone arrested, no matter if the charges prove false or get thrown out in court. This information sharing is especially troubling as the federal government is seeking to detain and deport people through any means that they decide, with a focus on immigrants and individuals who have spoken out against U.S. policies and actions, as well as examples of people arbitrarily banished solely on the basis of a tattoo. In the case of over 200 Venezuelans who were flown to a high-security prison in El Salvador last month, ICE is justifying its actions by claiming the individuals were gang members, many of whom were apparently identified as such by having a tattoo. Family members and the individuals themselves have vehemently denied these allegations of gang affiliations and shown that the tattoos have no connection.
The next speaker is Janika.
So continuing the letter, LAPD reports on individuals through suspicious activity reports, SARS, and the DHS Homeland Security Information Network, HSIN mobile app reporting system. LAPD encourages the reporting of suspicious activity through the SAR and iWatch programs, together promoted as See Something, Say Something. Through these programs, LAPD encourages community members to profile people based on race, gender presentation, neighborhood, ethnicity, and other factors, and to report anyone that they feel even slightly suspicious of to police under the guise of preventing terrorist attacks. LAPD funnels these reports to JRIC, where they are analyzed for a potential nexus to terrorism or criminality. LAPD additionally shares information with federal agencies and fusion centers using the DHS Homeland Security Information Network and mobile app reporting system. HSIN was created by the DHS for trusted sharing of sensitive but unclassified information and for suspicious incidents and pre-incident information, 24/7 situational awareness, unclassified bulletins, alerts, and analysis reports. In addition to using HSIN to share information between agencies, an LAPD training document shows that LAPD captains are directed to use HSIN HSIN for the sharing of real-time information they have obtained from social media surveillance, including the identification of protesters via posts and live feeds. Data shared through HSIN is reported to Fusion Centers. A 2011 request for proposals for the Northern California Regional Intelligence Center described HSIN as a collaborative system used by the DHS operations centers to collect and disseminate information between DHS and local, state, tribal, and federal agencies. This means that individuals are reported to federal agencies and fusion centers by LAPD for lawful political activities that may have no proximity to crime. 5, LAPD participates with federal agencies on a wide range of multi-agency task forces, sharing information and resources that can result in collateral arrests. LAPD's March 4th, 2025 presentation to BOPC acknowledged that LAPD officers work side by side with ICE and with HSI agents on thousands of instances of joint federal local task force. By the department's estimate, its officers have participated in 5,809 interagency task force since 2018. Both LAPD and ICE are members of many of these task forces, with local personnel deputized to work out of federal offices using federal resources as federal task force officers. While LAPD admitted in its March 4th presentation that its close collaboration with federal authorities includes task forces where ICE or HS.
Thank you. Sanyaku?
Sir, that's your first and final warning. If you keep talking, you will be asked to leave the room. While the LAPD admitted in its March 4th presentation that its close collaboration with federal authorities includes task forces where ICE or HSI are seeking to arrest someone, it claimed it does not assist, but a November regional headquarters in Long Beach to allow collaboration as well as, quote, access to the forensic capabilities and laboratory housed within HSI, end quote. Local police assigned to this task force are considered, quote, members of the HSI task force with cross-federal status, end quote, who have become task force officers, allowing them to facilitate investigations and computer forensic examinations beyond the city boundaries. Another task force states that it has been gathering and sharing data, including license plate scans, video surveillance feeds, all through Peregrine software, approved by the BOPC and City Council. Once again, as the Trump administration seeks to weaponize every federal agency, resource, and program in pursuit of its political agenda, there is no doubt that LAPD officers will provide direct and official support to this work. 6, LAPD acts as an alert for DHS and ICE by sending fingerprints of every person booked into custody. Immigration enforcement can't happen without a vast network of local police and prosecutors who serve as the federal government's eyes and ears on the ground, ensuring that any person booked into custody for any arrest, no matter how trivial and no matter if ultimately false or thrown out in court, is immediately put on ICE's radar. ICE describes this process as follows. ICE enforcement and removal operations typically learns that a possible foreign national has been taken into federal, state, local, or tribal criminal custody through an automated nationwide federal information sharing program referred to as Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI/DHS interoperability. After an individual is fingerprinted during the booking process, his or her fingerprints are sent to the FBI, after which they're automatically transmitted to DHS's automated biometric identity system. If there is a match in ident, information about that individual is automatically sent to ICE in their near real time as a biometric immigration alien query. After receiving this information, ICE can potentially access jail booking data through a program created by LexisNexis called the Accurant Virtual Crime Center. Though it is not clear if Accurant has access to this information in LA County, LexisNexis describes this as real-time incarceration and arrest data. You will access jail booking data, including over 140 million booking records and 38 million offender images from 2,000 plus law enforcement databases nationwide. We add over 1 million new records each month. This equates to approximately 85% of all incarcerations in the United States, 85%.
Both ICE and CBP have contracts to use this database. The city of LA additionally funds and supports LexisNexis.
The next speaker, please, Nena.
Thank you. Your public comment has concluded.
Continuing the same letter. Both ICE and CBP have contracts to use this database. The City of Los Angeles additionally funds and supports LexisNexis through contracts for Accurint for LAPD that have been in place from 2006 to today. Accurint provides users with access to a wide range of records, including data from credit agencies, cell phone registries, social media posts, property records, utility accounts, phishing licenses, internet chat rooms, and bankruptcy filings, and ALPR plays scans from Vigilant Technologies. Even without access to real-time incarceration data, and in situations where law enforcement does not honor ICE detainers, ICE can make arrests in communities after a person's release from custody. In sum, there are many large, systemic, and direct ways that the LAPD is participating in the targeting and banishment of immigrant communities in Los Angeles, even without any proximity to crime. LAPD's close relationship with JRIC, federal agencies, and task forces means that any data that is obtained by LAPD will become accessible to federal immigration authorities. The only way LAPD cannot share information with federal agencies is if LAPD doesn't have information to share. This is why our communities keep fighting LAPD's acquisition of resources, technology, and funding to gather even more data on us that will be used to either pursue or justify a stop, search, detention, or exile of a person by federal authorities. This is an enormous danger, and every LAPD agreement, technology contract, grant application, and request to accept a donation that facilitated it was approved by the Board of Police Commissioners and City Council. This is the same city council that claims to restrict cooperation and sharing of city resources with ICE and immigration authorities. As LAPD has confirmed in no uncertain terms, city council's sanctuary assurances and declarations are false and will not entail any change in policy. LAPD's close collaboration with ICE and other federal authorities will remain business as usual, working side by side with ICE and sharing information and resources as fast as technology will allow, soon to be additionally facilitated through the next and latest real-time crime centers, which promise false safety by funneling as much surveillance information about communities as possible into LAPD RTCCs. We agree that the city's resources should not be used for immigration enforcement, but instead provide for the primary needs of residents with a focus on those most marginalized. Unless Mayor Bass and City Council are willing to terminate the many LAPD policies, programs, and technologies that serve our family members, neighbors, and loved ones to federal authorities, the city should declare that it has no qualms about offering city resources and personnel to the Trump administration's agenda of terrorizing immigrant communities.
Okay, the final speaker will be Kasim, and it will be the final speaker for today.
We gotta listen more of the frickin' letter.
We're here today because LAPD wants us to believe that they don't participate in immigration enforcement, that they somehow float above the deportation machine while doing everything short of physically handing someone to ICE. But the LAPD's own immigration enforcement FAQ tells us the truth that they try to obscure. They're an active participant in the caging, surveillance, and deportation of our neighbors. They claim they don't enforce immigration law, but they collect data, share information, and notify ICE whenever there's a so-called legal obligation. That term is deliberately vague. It's a loophole. It's the state's sleight of hand. This is clearly laid out in FAQ 11, which affirms LAPD's unrestricted ability to send and receive information on immigration status with ICE. FAQ 12, which later details their notification of ICE when an arrestee has a federal immigration-related warrant. And FAQ...
I'm turning the sound off from this. Sorry, I'm done. I'm done. Yeah, at least they are organized. And if we were all there, we could be organized, but they don't call on Zoom. Yeah. Oh well. Okay, guys, I need to get some emails sent, audit. I will be on that call for bid. I don't know about streaming because I don't know how meetings works for streaming. I'll try. Amy M., I think every one of us has said something. I've written in, Audit said something, Phil Tabby said something last week. Several others have written in on their written comments. Would you guys please write comments and email them? There you go, Peter. Start emailing all the commissioners. That is a fantastic idea. Yep, I need to go get a little bit of work done. A little bit of in my soul. That's kind of what I'm figuring is they don't want to piss off the people that are there in present time. That is a wonderful thing for you to do, Amy M. I would appreciate it. Yep, email campaign. Okay, love y'all. See you later. Let's go going live in 10 minutes.